Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Dominaria Drafts. Here we have a very good pick one pack one on Sarah's Wings. Actually not going to take the rare here. Mirari Conjecture is a fun card to play around with, but it's not the craziest bomb rare to take. It's just kind of a good value card, bringing a couple instants and sorceries back, maybe eventually doubling them. On Sarah's Wings is the card I'm going to take here. 4 mana for an aura. Enchanted creature is legendary, gets +1/+1, has flying, vigilance, and lifelink. You just build your own incredibly terrifying flying threat. So this is good on like anything, even just on a 2/2, it's not bad. But the kind of classic combo that you're going to see a lot in the format is to throw an On Sarah's Wings onto a Cold Water Snapper. That's exceptionally hard to beat. A 5/6 hexproof flying lifelink vigilance. So that's a thing that you'll see a lot. That's a thing we could try to do if we end up in white-blue here, but I'm not really going to force it. We'll see what our secondary color is, what is pretty open here, but On Sarah's Wings, definitely a really solid pick one, pack one, and we cannot follow it up with another white card here, which is unfortunate. Yeah, this is kind of just a weird pack distribution in general. Just a ton of black cards, one red card, no white. So what are the best cards in here? Academy Journey Mage is pretty solid in blue, just a solid tempo play. Definitely a lot better when you have wizards in your deck, but pretty okay either way. Vicious Offering's pretty great in black. 2 mana instant speed, -2/2. If you need to, you can sacrifice a creature for -5/5. There's also Whisper and Lingering Phantom. Both of these are solid, but they're slow. Whisper is at the best in definitely like black-green, where you have a lot of 1/1 saplings to sacrifice to this. That's where Whisper really shines. So not going to look exceptional in here, but Lingering Phantom can be pretty good in black-white because you can have a lot of historic spells. This can just keep coming back over and over. But I also just like Vicious Offering. I think I'm just going to scoop up the Vicious Offering. Now we see Davenant Trapper, which is really good with On Sarah's Wings. A 3 mana 3/2 whenever you cast a historic spell, tap a creature an opponent controls. So in a deck with a lot of historic, this is great, especially when you're very aggressive. Skittering Surveyor is going to be good in any deck that we play. It triggers historic when we cast it. It mana fixes us, and it's a little 1/2 creature and a land all in one card, so good in several ways. Adeliz is great for blue-red wizards if that ends up being open. We did get past this pick 3, and this is the first pickable blue-red wizards card, so at least the 2 people on our right are not trying to do blue-red wizards. And then there's like Song of Freyalise, which is really good with a lot of creatures on the board because you give them all +1/+1 counters. So a lot of powerful cards in this pack. Skittering Surveyor, definitely the most open card. We can play it at anything, so we might scoop it up here. But Adeliz and Song of Freyalise are both really good cards. You know, I kind of like jumping on the Adeliz train and seeing if that ends up being open here. Maybe we can draft a good blue-red wizards deck this time. If that ends up being open. Now, yeah, nothing great in white. Aven Sentry's just okay. We have like Caligo Skinwitch in black. The red we have like Rampaging Cyclops and Warcry Phoenix. Both of these are just solid, like filler creatures. Nothing exceptionally exciting in here outside of Skittering Surveyor or Academy Journey Mage. I think these are the 2 cards I'm looking to pick here. And again, Skittering Surveyor for staying open, or we can just jump in on that blue-red wizards and try to cut other people out of it here after taking that Adeliz. I'm going to go for it here, take an Academy Journey Mage here, see if it pans out. We do see more wizards. Gitsu Lava Runner, a great aggressive wizard if you have a bunch of cheap instants and sorceries, and also Wizard's Retort, which is a pretty good counter spell with wizards on the board. You can counter something for only 2 mana, otherwise it is a 3 mana counter spell. There's also Deep Freeze, which is okay removal, but ideally you grab instant and sorcery-based removal so that Adeliz can trigger and give your whole field +1/+1 for the turn. And then there's like Fiery Intervention, which is kind of expensive removal, but removal nonetheless. Kind of want to take a Lava Runner here and really go aggro with the wizards, because curving out with a 1 mana wizard, a 2 mana wizard, and then the 3 mana wizard of Adeliz is one of the best things you can do in the wizard decks. And we can take another Lava Runner here. Now, Weight of Memory seems solid. 5 mana, draw 3, and then somebody mills 3. Yeah, looks like one of the best cards in the pack. Otherwise, there's just like Dub for if we end up playing in white. Just grab a couple auras and really go for that strategy. But I'll just take the Weight of Memory, solid draw spell. We do see a Davenant Trapper still here, and we're not going to play an Artificial Assistant or a Skirk Prospector in the Blue-Red Wizards, so we'll take the Davenant Trapper here. This leaves us open to still being like white-blue. We have some good aggressive white cards, the Creature and then the Aura, and then blue gives us like a tempo play and a draw spell. So we could still be white-blue here. It's definitely possible. And for that reason, I'll just take like a Vedalian Arcanist here. So we could play it in blue-white or blue-red. And it'll be fine in either deck. This pack's just not good. Yeah, generally the only card I'd really play here would be like these random green creatures, and don't think we're going into green, so I'll just take the uncommon for collection purposes, for filling up the vault a little faster. Again, nothing good in those three colors. Cabal Paladin's okay with a lot of historic stuff, but only having 2 toughness on a 4-mana card isn't awesome. Kind of like Mammoth Spider the best. I think it's just the strongest card in the pack. Now we can take just an Adamant Will for white. Alright, well, we're not 100% committed to anything here. I think blue's our most likely color. Between blue-red wizards or just blue-white kind of flyers, and maybe all 3. Why not all 3? We do want to pick up some Skittering Surveyors and maybe some Navigator's Compasses if we want to be able to cast Joda easily, because blue, red, and white don't have really any mana fixing. We're going to have to get the colorless mana fixing to help cast that. So Skittering Surveyor would be the ideal card to be able to pick up after this, but I think taking Joda seems fine here. 4 mana for a 4/3 flyer, even if it is hard to cast. It's a pretty big threat in the sky. It's also a wizard for the stuff that cares about that. Do kind of like slamming down the Joda. I suppose there's an argument for taking Academy Journey Mage here, because we can play this in white-blue or blue-red. And we won't have to do 3-color to do that, and we could just wheel the Joda, because I don't know how likely it is for somebody else to be in blue, red, and white. You know, yeah, I'll take the Academy Journey Mage here. It's just like a safer pick, because we don't have to run a wonky mana base to play that. And we know for sure if Joda comes back around that we can just scoop Joda up then, and we'll just know that blue, red, and white is open. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm just slamming another Adelies here. She's just such a powerful, aggressive card in the Wizards deck, giving your whole field +1/+1 when you cast instants and sorceries. Ooh, yeah, now we get an Aban, Dean of Iteration. 2 mana for a 2/1, with an effect that doubles your Wizard Enter the Battlefield effects. Doesn't sound the craziest, but with Academy Journey Mages, which we already have 2 of, that is insane. If you play an Aban turn 2, Adelies turn 3, and Academy Journey Mage turn 4, that's like the dream curve. Bounce 2 of their creatures back to their hand. Really slow them down here. We also have Merfolk, Trickster, and Fiery Intervention. These are both solid cards to scoop up. And then, like, Warlord's Fury, just for triggering Adelies' effect. But Naban here seems very fun and potentially very good for us. Ooh, Eldest Reborn still in this pack. Eldest Reborn is a very powerful saga. Most of the sagas are pretty good. But we're not really playing black here. I think at this point, we're trying to do everything in our power to end up in just blue-red wizards. So let's take Vedalian Arcanist. Now that we have double Adelies and Naban, just being in blue-red seems great. Now we have a 2-mana 2/2, a 3-mana 2/3 that is a wizard, or Wrath, which would be in white, so we would have to do that 3-color thing, but Wrath's a wizard, a flash flyer that gives all of our other historic cards flash. Wrath seems pretty good here, and we're not missing out on anything if we do end up in just blue-red. We're missing out on a 2-mana 2/2 or a 3-mana 2/3. Honestly, Tolarian Scholar probably better in this deck than the 2-mana 2/2 that isn't a wizard. So yeah, we're not really missing out on anything there, just some unexciting cards. Here I'm going to take Divination. I do like card draw spells in this format. 3 mana to draw 2. Seems pretty good, although Warlord's Fury does combo well in a Wizards deck because it gives us a cheap instant or sorcery to get in the grave really quickly with like Get to Lava Runner, and you draw a card when you cast this, so it just immediately replaces itself. The impact of this card doesn't have to be too high, it just helps because you're casting an instant or sorcery and you're getting one in your grave. So Warlord's Fury is good in these decks, but I'm just going to scoop up Divination. It's a card we're likely to see less often. because the only deck that really wants those little random 1 mana cantrip sorceries are the Wizards decks. Here, I guess I'll take the 2 mana 2/2. I mean, we could take the Coldwater Snapper just because we have on Sarah's Wings, but we're going to have a pretty awkward deck if we're running really aggressive cards like Adelies, and then also like 6 mana 4/5 Hexproofers that we're trying to throw Sarah's Wings onto. That being said, the 2 mana 2/2 is not very exciting. I'll take the Coldwater Snapper, but I'm just not certain that I'm running that. Definitely will run an opt, though. It gives us a cheap instant or sorcery that scries and draws, so it digs to what we're looking for at the time. Helps a lot with Lava Runner and Adelies. Don't mind if I do. And Joda does wheel, so I'm thinking we're doing blue-red with a splash of white for Wrath and Joda. Just some powerful white wizards at the end in the splash. So we really want to hit Skittering Surveyors now, and I did pass up on them earlier, but I passed up on them to pick up like Adeliese's. So we're hoping to get really lucky and just see more Skittering Surveyors in the final pack here. That would be the best way to fix this mana for this deck, but push comes to shove, we could play Navigator's Compasses, but Navigator's Compass is one of the least exciting ways to fix your mana because it puts you down a card. You spend 1 mana for a card that just changes the color of one of your lands every turn. It's much better to get like Skittering Surveyor because for 3 mana you get a 1/2 out of it and you draw a basic land, so you're drawing another card out of your deck instead of the Navigator's Compass. Basically you have to spend 2 cards to get your off color of mana. So what do we have here? This pack is not very good for us. I think we're just taking a Journey Mage, just a good aggressive wizard on curve, 3 mana for a 3/2 that damages our opponent. Wow, this pack is great for green decks though. Steel Leaf Champion. If you're heavy into green, a 3 mana 5/4 that's hard to block. Spore Crown Thallid, great with the Saproling strategy, and then like Thorn Elemental, great card to ramp into. Some great green stuff at the top of this pack, but some good white stuff too for aggressive decks. Pegasus Courser and Call the Cavalry. Ooh, Antiquities War? We've got 1 artifact. So unfortunately we can't go for the Antiquities War here. As fun as that card can be if you draft it early on, it's not going to be for our deck. So we can grab another Get to Lava Runner, but we've only got 3 instants, 2 sorceries. We don't really have enough to make these really good. I really want to grab the stuff like Warlord's Fury and Divination to get more instants and sorceries and make them better attackers more often. But it still might be worth taking it just to get more creatures in the deck in general. Yeah, maybe. It's that or Divination, I think. Yeah, let's take the Lava Runner. Just get a bunch of creatures in here. Ooh, Fight with Fire. Get in my belly. 3 mana for 5 damage to a creature. Or if you kick it in the late game, granted for our deck it has to be the really late game because we don't have any ramp. But then you're spending 9 mana to deal 10 damage wherever you want, including to your opponent's face. Really good. That can just be like a one-sided board wipe, or it can completely kill your opponent on the spot. Fight with Fire is a very good card because the worst case scenario on this card is a 3 mana 5 damage removal spell, which is great. And the best case scenario, if you do have that mana in the late game, is absurd. So that gives us another instant or sorcery that we're really happy to play. And once again, Wizard's Lightning, another instant or sorcery we're really happy to play. 3 mana for 3 damage to any target's already good, and if you have a wizard on the board, it's only 1 mana. So we are scooping up those instants and sorceries that we want to play with our cheap wizards like the Lava Runner. So it actually did pan out pretty well taking the Lava Runner over just like the Divination there, because we've hit some powerful instants and sorceries here. I am taking this over a Wrath, but I want to be open to maybe not even splashing here, because again, we just don't have mana fixing in this color pair. In these 3 colors, I should say. All we could get would be that artifact mana fixing, and we're not seeing it in this last pack, so I definitely feel like we could be in a position here where our mana base is very bad if we have to splash these white cards, so hopefully we can get out of having to do that, but worst case scenario, we can just run a bad mana base to have some bomby white cards in here. Pretty happy to see a Cloud Reader Sphinx here, though. Very powerful card. and it's on colors for the just blue and red. 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, we scry 2, so even if it immediately dies, it gives us the equivalent advantage of just like drawing a card, which is pretty good. Another Get You Journey Mage. I think I'll just scoop that up, although Run Amok is definitely an option in the Wizards deck. I just really like that Journey Mage combo as well with Naban. That seems really fun, and it also just gives us more creatures in general. I guess we do have 15 right now, but we're probably going to cut these 2 if we can. That puts us down to like 13. That being said, Run Amok would be pretty good here because we are pretty aggressive. Lots of 1-mana cards, some 2-mana cards. Definitely a fine choice either way there. Now we'll just take a Rampaging Cyclops for just being an on-color creature we can play without the white mana. We'll do it again. And Homered Explorer. Are we going to have to play a Homered Explorer here? I guess we have like Relic Runner here. We have some random filler cards and some Cold Water Snappers. If we were lucky enough to get like 1 Skittering Surveyor in this last pack, I think that I would go for the 3-color build, but I'm going to end up just playing some weaker cards so that our mana base doesn't ever screw us over. The more aggressive your deck is, the more you want to make sure that your mana is consistent. Because if you're in a slower deck with a lot of great value later in the game, like drawing a bunch of cards or just playing big bombs in the late game, then you can stumble on your mana in the first few turns. But if you're an aggressive deck that's going to win by curving out 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, getting stuck on a color of mana in the early game is often devastating and can just lead to a loss a lot easier than it would be in a slow deck. So that's why I'm really trying to get to just blue-red here instead of the blue-red-white. It's definitely a lot harder to be a 3-color aggressive deck than it is to be a 3-color mid-range or control deck. So here we are. Got a 43-card deck right now. Could definitely just cut the 2 Cold Water Snappers because they're the most expensive card, and we're trying to curve out cheaper than that. And now we just need to cut 1 more card, which could even be a land, but probably not. We've still got a lot of like 4 and 5 mana cards we want to curve out with our mana base all the way up to 5 here. So cut 1 more card. This definitely looks like a lot better of a Wizards deck than we had the first time around. I think we don't have a ton of instants and sorceries here, but we've got some good ones. I think every one that we have is pretty quality. The weakest 2 being like Weight of Memory and Warlord's Fury. But in general, like Wizard's Lightning, Fight with Fire, Divination, and Opt are all pretty great. I kind of like cutting a Relic Runner here. We do have some historic stuff. Maybe we could even just cut a Guardians of Koilos, just a 5-mana 4/4 in this deck. It can return a historic card when we play it, but that just returns Adeliz or Naban, so there's really no purpose in doing that. Yeah, no, we probably just cut Guardians. And then we keep the Relic Runners in just to have more creatures to curve out with on turn 2. Even though they're not excellent in here, we only have 3 historic spells. So generally they're a 2-mana 2/1, which is not exciting, not ideal. But those are the kinds of mediocre cards we're going to have to run to stick to just the 2 colors here at the end. You know, if we wanted to go with the bad mana base 4-color version, we'd probably just cut the 2 Relic Runners and throw in Raft Joda. Call it a day there. I guess we'd want to run On Star's Wings as well, so we'd have to cut something else, but pretty fine with this blue-red build that we've got going. Double Adeliz is pretty huge. Any game where we've got that Adeliz going for us is going to be an excellent game, especially because we've got a good amount of wizards in here. We have 12 of them, which is much better than we had last time. Yeah, pretty excited to see this deck operate. Again, not the best blue-red wizards deck that I've ever played, but a lot better than the one that we played in our first Dominaria draft. All right, well, I don't love that I have to hit a land to do a lot here, otherwise I'm just playing some 2/1s, but if I do hit a couple lands, like we curve out well, we've got both of our colors available. Now we have an Arcanist. Would I rather play an Arcanist or a Relic Runner here? Against black, Yeah, I totally forgot about this. Against black, Relic Runners are really bad because Fungal Infection's a pretty popular card. 2 mana for one mana for -1/-1 to something, and you get a 1/1 Saproling. So, just because of Fungal Infection, I actually really don't like the Relic Runners against a black deck. Ooh, another Adelease. Well, we're going to end up playing a Relic Runner here. And it might get Fungal Infection. But that is a risk we'll have to take. Because we have nothing else to cast. Alright, at least no Fungal Infection from our opponent. If they had that, they would have slammed it down there. We're going to slam down our Adelease now, since we have hit that 3rd mana and get in for all this damage. Relic Runner's unblockable even if they have a flash creature. Probably played a little too much in fear of Fungal Infection here, because if I had just played Relic Runner on turn 2, we'd have done another point of damage to our opponent, because we would have hit him for 2 damage initially instead of 1 on our first attack. So they'd be at 13 instead, but otherwise the board state would be about the same. I guess, no, we could have hit for even more damage if we just played 2 Relic Runners. And no Arcanist. Play another Relic Runner here. Baird forces us to pay to attack. So we do need to hold 1 mana up to attack with Adelease here, but I can do that pretty easily. Hoping that they kill this Adelease because it's the only card that keeps hitting them, because if they do, we get to cast another one, which makes these Relic Runners unblockable. I guess the problem is we have to pay for each creature that attacks them, so if we don't draw land, we can't do that. So drawing a land would definitely be our best draw, because Academy Journey Mage to get that Baird back in their hand allows us to attack with everybody without paying, which is excellent. And there we go. Ask and you shall receive today. Thank you, Arena. Throw that Baird back in their hand. They tap down 1 creature, they tap down Adelease, and we hit for 5 here. Very likely we can find lethal really quickly here. We're down to 7. We've got another Journey Mage to bounce Baird if they recast it. We have another Adelease if they kill the first one, or just to give these Relic Runners unblockable. They do just recast Baird. Another Academy Journey Mage it is. And see if that can't close things down. They tap this Journey Mage and take 7 on board, and there's the concession. Unfortunately for our opponent, a single Fungal Infection could have really turned that around, because if they had a single Fungal Infection, that would kill both our 2/1s on that attack. So they'd take 4 less damage. They'd be at like 4 life after that attack and kill both our 2/1s. So there are definitely still cards they could have had there to save themselves, but unfortunately just a pretty slow start for our opponent against a pretty aggressive deck, the Blue-Red Wizards. Well, kind of the opposite of our last hand. Now we're hoping to draw a lot of non-land cards. I think I'll keep it though. I mean, Arcanist into Journey Mage, that is a way to get a game started. Not the most aggressive ever, but we hit our opponent for a couple damage with Journey Mage's Enter the Battlefield effect, and then we start slamming in for 3, hopefully. Pretty hard to justify mulliganing in Limited when you have both of your colors and some cards to cast. You just can't mulligan that aggressively in Draft. So our opponent starts with Knight of New Benalia. I'm just going to take that trade right now. We are going to get 2 less damage by taking that trade, but this is not a hand that's like curving out super aggressively, so I want to just control my opponent's early aggro and wait till we actually hit some good stuff to play. And I think I'm okay just slamming a Divination here. Ooh, Naban into Gitu Journey Mage now. That seems pretty good. We can play Naban and Arcanist next turn. Alright, well, may have misread things there, but when you see a 2-mana 3/1 out of your opponent, when they're playing a 1 toughness card in order to have 3 power, you do really expect an aggressive deck, so that is why I played the way that I did. I was expecting like a pretty aggressive mirror, but they didn't have a 3-drop, and now on 4 they have Joyra's Familiar to make their historic spells cost 1 less, so could just be like blue-white like historic here with some big late game cards. So maybe should have just been putting creatures on the board faster rather than divinating in this matchup. Tashar. When they cast historic spells, they can bring creature cards with mana value 3 or less from their graveyard to the battlefield. So they can cast a historic spell and bring back their 3/1. Seems pretty good. Go for our Journey Mage here that hits them for 4. And then we have a Relic Runner. I think I'm just going to attack with Naban. When we're playing off the top, I'm okay with Naban trading for Tashar, because Tashar has a really good effect. Naban has a pretty good effect, but Tashar is straight up just getting creatures back from the grave over and over. So we'll attack with Naban here, offer the trade. They have the Seal Away to exile him. Fair enough. Now we'll just cast that Relic Runner and pass the turn. I like playing the Journey Mage before the attack. That way, if Naban dies, we still get the double trigger, but then we can still hold on to Relic Runner, play that post-combat. Serra Angel from our opponent. We draw into a Gitu Lava Runner. Well, we're definitely looking for Fight with Fire here. Even Wizard's Lightning would be okay, because then if they block, we can trade up. Only one sorcery in the grave, so Lava Runner's just a 1/2. And we can't attack in well. Like, we could threaten to kill Serra Angel with a removal spell, but I think in their current position, they're more than okay taking that risk of us having a burn spell. Because they're like, okay, so you'll lose your Journey Mage and a burn spell to kill Serra Angel. I still have flyers getting aggressive on you, and your board is 2 1-power creatures and a 2-power creature. Yeah, I don't think an attack looks good for us. And it's a very easy position for our opponent to call our bluff. Because then even if we kill their Serra Angel, if they draw a historic spell, they've still got a really big board. 2/2/2 flyers and a 3/1. We are down to 6 now. Probably just getting flyered out here. Oh dear. There's the Guardians of Koilos, brings back the Knight of New Benalia, and they've got a 4/4 on the board. They're going to return the Drawer's Familiar. And just a land for us to end things off, so that is game. Pretty nice deck from our opponent there. So definitely looked like a blue-white flyers kind of deck with a historic theme to it. And the reason that they're running those 2-mana 3/1s is to have creatures that do trade in the early game to make the most out of Tashar's ability. So definitely misread the situation a little bit there. When I see that 2-mana 3/1, I'm like, ooh, I'm about to get like aggroed out by a deck with like 2-mana 3/1s and charges and stuff. Just getting creatures on the board, trying to be super aggressive, but they're just using them because they trade often in their early game and come back with Tashar, so they're more of a mid-range deck there. So we could have played it a little more aggressively there, maybe got them down to like 12 or something instead if I just slammed down all my creatures instead of divinating there, but I don't think we really could have turned that game around. Our opponent had some pretty good cards there, just high card quality in general. Blood Tallow Candle will start the game for our opponent, and Lava Runner will start the game for us. We don't have a ton of instants and sorceries in this deck, so Lava Runner is really not great. But it is solid if we get like lucky curves. Well, I'm against black again, and now I'm against green-black with a Spore Crown Thallid out, which makes it very likely that they're green-black Saprolings, which makes Fungal Infection actually a card that we're very likely to see. Yeah, Relic Runner doesn't even attack in super well. I mean, I would trade with Spore Crown Thallid, so they probably won't block, but if they just play a single Saproling token, Relic Runner's not going to attack in well anyway, so we'll just play the 1-3 here, and I think it's very likely they'll play a Sapling token even if they don't have Fungal Infection immediately. Ooh, stuck on 2 here. Happy to see that. We do have our 5 mana now for our Cloud Reader Sphinx in the late game, which is going to be a pretty necessary card to have, I think. Because we don't have a lot going for us right now. Llanowar Elves from our opponent. Well, this is probably one of those games I'm supposed to just make my opponent have it. Just be like, if you've got a fungal infection, you've got a fungal infection. And probably, yet again, 2 games already this video. Should have just slammed down Relic Runner and just... If they've got a fungal infection, Relic Runner is never going to be good, so... Just put it on the board, it's whatever. Alright, another Relic Runner. I don't want to draw another one of those. I'm going to throw that on the bottom. Our luckiest draws would be like... Divination Fight with Fire, something like that. Just a couple good instant sorceries to play here. Mainly Divination to draw some more good stuff. Divination Opt would actually be pretty good. That being said, even if we do buff all our Lava Runners, we still don't have great attacks. Ooh, Weight of Memory is actually pretty great here. We can mill our own grave to, or mill our own deck to potentially get more instants and sorceries in our graveyard. And they might have some things that can come back from their grave as well. They might have like soul salvages and stuff in their decks, so I'm going to mill ourselves here. I should have played my land first so I could play a Lava Runner here if I wanted to. So I could get in for the attack with all this turn. But I think I'm just waiting to draw an Adelies. We still have 2 Adelies in our deck. We have not drawn into Adelies yet. So we'll go for this Opt in their end phase, I suppose. But yeah, Adelies would be a really good draw. I suppose better if I hold on to the Opt, but I still kind of have to cast the Opt to dig for the Adelies, so that is the awkward combo there. What do we got? Medallion Arcanist, not very good right now. We're drawing to a land. We've got a Journey Mage at the ready, and another Lava Runner. We'll make the most of our mana, get these things on the board. Our board is getting really wide. Might be at the point where I'm supposed to attack with everybody. Oop, nope. If we draw a Fight with Fire, we're just going to wait to cast that, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need 9 mana to kick this. At 1 more mana, we just one-sided board wipe and then attack all. Actually, we have Medallion Arcanist right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can kick this literally right now, kill everything except the Sapling token they get out of Deathbloom Thallid. Yeah, I like that. Let's just do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bam. Target everything. So we actually only need to do 2 damage to the Deathbloom Thallid if Spore Crown Thallid dies, because it's giving it +1/+1, so when it dies it's going to be a 3/2, so we only do 2 damage to that. We could actually play around some kind of tricks here instead of doing 3 to their face, but I'm not familiar enough with this format right now to know what tricks they could have. I guess they could have like Arbor Armament for +1/+1. Sure, we'll do like 1 to their face to do 3 damage to Spore Crown Thallid and 3 damage to Acolyte in case they have +1/+1. I don't know. No, probably not necessary. Watch, I'm going to get blown out by an Arbor Armament now that I've just done the minimum damage required here. They're going to put a +1/+1 counter on Spore Crown Thallid and I'm going to cry. If they do that, it would be really bad. Because then the Deathbloom Thallid won't die either. So if they can save Spore Crown Thallid here. Uh-oh. Spore Swarm. Okay, so they just get some more Saprolings. so their stuff can survive. Oh, they do have +2/+1. Oh my god. It was a completely different card that I wasn't even trying to play around there. Oh no. Oh no. Alright, so I should have done 1 less damage to their face, 1 more damage to the Spore Crown Thal. That much is clear. Even if I had accomplished that, they still have 4 1/1 blockers, but 4 1/1 blockers is a low enough amount to still just send in an attack there. Well, that was rough. Now, I don't think I'm attacking in. They have 5 blockers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attackers. Trade, 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 and then they eat 1. They can eat 1 of my creatures, but we trade everywhere else. So what that clears down the board to them just having a Deathbloom Thallid and an Aether Glider if they take all the trades, but they're not going to trade with Spore Crown Thallid because they need it for Deathbloom Thallid to be big enough to eat things up. So we do get in for a couple damage. I think I'm still just waiting for Adelies. We only have 17 cards left in the deck. There's still 2 Adelies in there, so it would be pretty big. It's actually pretty unfortunate that we didn't end up with a single one of the Gitu Chroniclers. Gitu Chronicler would be so good in this deck because with Gitu Chronicler, we could kick it to return an instant or sorcery from our grave to hand, so that card just works really well with Fight with Fire. So Gitu Chroniclers would have been clutch. If we just had like 2 Gitu Chroniclers instead of 2 Relic Runners, I think this deck would be a lot better, because Gitu Chronicler gives us just a lot of reach in the late game for positions like this, where a lot of our cards just aren't good to draw right now, like just more Verdalian Arcanists or Journey Mages or something. Just don't really help when the boards get really cluttered, and the boards can get cluttered really easily in Dominaria. So the Blue-Red Wizards deck, like, you really want to be curving out aggressively before your opponent can do stuff like this. So like the Sapling matchup's pretty bad unless you have that good late game reach with cards like Gitu Chronicler. So I think those are definitely a lot better cards to have than these Relic Runners in this kind of deck. They have the card to put a +1/+1 counter on all their stuff. I mean, if they don't kill us right now, we just kill them on the crackback most likely. They have 2 blockers though, so they block there, They take 1, 2, 3. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. No, they don't die on the crackback unless we draw an instant or sorcery. Well, I think we play around putting a +1/+1 counter on it, everybody here. Because that'd be the most likely card. Wild Onslaught it is. Which means that we have to block some or we die. We take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We get a 1 if they don't have it. But we die if they do. So Rampaging Cyclops trades for Deathbloom Thallid, even if they put a +1/+1 counter on it. The 2/2s don't trade into the Saprolings, but the 3/2 will, and then we'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow, yeah, we just don't have good blocks if they have Wild Onslaught, even if we know that that's what's coming. Can't really play around it exceptionally well. Yeah, I guess I just do that. Oh, they just have nothing. They just want to get in. Oh. Well, I guess I should have blocked with the 1/3 there then. Juggernaut is the play. Just a land here. Probably dead on board here, to be honest. We can block Juggernaut and 3 2-power creatures, and then we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're dead on board. Ooh, don't attack with the Skin Witch. We're no longer dead. But we're close. We got a 1 instead. If I block like this, I lose all my creatures. that I'm blocking with, I could actually block like this so that I can keep the Vidalian Arcanist and still kill just as many saplings, because if Spore Crown Thalad's off the board, the saplings are just 1 toughness. Cool. And a Windgrace Acolyte for another flyer here. Just another land here. Well, the one big thing we could have done there was definitely play the fight with fire better. We may have been able to turn that into a victory if we had fought with fire for 3 damage on the Spore Crown Thalid and the Deathbloom Thalid. Definitely a punt there, but again, not particularly familiar with this format. It's been years since I played it a lot. Recently, I've just done like 3 drafts with some different decks each time. But I did literally mention the +1/+1 Arbor Armament, so I was considering playing around the 1 damage there. And then turns out I definitely should have played around the +1/+1, stopping the 1 damage. Because they had a random +2/+1 spell. Alright, playing against another green deck. This time they have Untamed Kavu coming up. I like our hand a lot here. Oh, another thing I can say with certainty is we should just be slamming down this Relic Runner a lot more often. Every time I see black mana, I'm just way too scared of Fungal Infection. If they have Fungal Infection, it's going to kill Relic Runner eventually at some point. Like we saw last game, they ended up having having a Fungal Infection for Relic Runner, and they just killed it on like turn 10 anyway. So it's not like we're going to bait out a Fungal Infection on a weaker creature, or a creature that's that isn't as good of a deal for them. Most likely, they're just going to end up using it on the 2/1 later, so it's all good. I do like drawing Divination here. I'll keep that. So I'm just going to slam down the Relic Runner here rather than the Vidalian Arcanist, because we don't really need the extra mana for instants and sorceries. The biggest reason to play the Arcanist is it could block Untamed Kavu, but Relic Runner can block and trade with it, so I don't really need a creature that can block and survive. And then the other reason is Arcanist does make Journey Mage cheaper, so we can curve out with turn 2 Arcanist into one of these spells on turn 3, and then Journey Mage turn 4. But I like getting the creature that can just trade with this Kavu and get that thing out of here. And we do get to do that, so I'm happy with that. Now we'll Divinate, draw a couple cards. Another Arcanist. Can slam down 2 Arcanists next turn. Tashar, Ancestor's Apostle. They're going for it, just like my last opponent. Just trade off those creatures quickly so that their Tashar can bring back all of them when they cast historic spells. So we're just going to kill Tashar right there. Now we don't have the big kicked fight with fire in the late game, but it's pretty important to stop that. And now we have made it to 5 mana, so we can drop a Cloud Reader Sphinx here and scry a couple cards, set up our next draws. I like that better than the Journey Mage. Journey Mage is fine here, slow them down by bouncing Thalid Omnivore back to their hand. Ooh, wow. Adeliz and Wizard's Lightning. I like both of these a lot. I think I like getting Adeliz first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next turn we'll have 6 mana. We can cast Adeliz and Arcanist. Do have to worry about the Thalid Omnivore, but Wizard's Lightning isn't going to kill it unless they tap out, because they can give it +2/+2 at instant speed. Yeah, I do like getting Adeliz first, putting some reverse pressure on them. Although, we may even just cast Journey Mage and Arcanist next turn, in which case it doesn't matter what we put on top. I'm very surprised by the no attack with a Thalid Omnivore there, but I will absolutely take it. Thalid Omnivore is such a great attacker because of the threat of activation, where if they attacked with it there, it's going to get damage in, because it's not going to block anything anyway, because I have a flyer here. But attacking with it there, they could make it a 5/5 by sacrificing Surveyor if I block with my Cloud Reader Sphinx, and I don't like that trade at all, so I would just never block there. Alright, so we go Adeliz Arcanist, or we go Journey Mage Arcanist. Adeliz does have that haste next turn, so I think I'm going to go with the Journey Mage here. And I'm actually going to do it pre-combat in case they have Arbor Armament to give a creature +1/+1 reach till end of turn. Because by getting rid of the Thallid Omnivore, they can make a 2/3 reach or a 3/3 reach, and that's it. See, this time I'm actually playing against Arbor Armaments. I learned my lesson last game. Alright, Thallid Omnivore's just coming back out. We've got that Wizard's Lightning. We got Adelies coming out. We get to just slam in the sky here. We have Wizard's Lightning if they try to cast an Arbor Armament. I suppose if they cast one on Thallid Omnivore, though, it's going to survive because they can sacrifice a creature when we try to Wizard's Lightning it. Alright, nothing. So we could Wizard's Lightning one of their creatures here. We could just kill Shauna and do 1 point of extra damage. We hit for 5 or we hit for 6 if we cast Wizard's Lightning. I think I just hold on to it. Hit for 5. I should have played Arcanist. There's no reason not to play an Arcanist here. I think I just got used to having like first strike creatures on the board recently. I don't remember what deck it was, but maybe it's just like Strixhaven in general. There's this thing where if you have a first strike creature on board, you have to click twice to get out of combat, so I got used to doing that a lot. And then I ended up accidentally skipping through my turn sometimes, as we saw there. I'm just going to slam the Arcanist down right now so I don't forget it. Well, it is looking like the Flyers are just going to get there. One more turn and we've got lethal. Just Wizard's Lightning the face. There's Baird. We have the mana to afford Baird's effects. So it is looking like flying on over for lethal. Warlord's Fury's the draw. Let's just slam that down right now. +1/+1 to the field and draw a card. And they're just going to scoop him up there. Not lethal yet. That would be 6 damage on board, but still, our opponent is over it. Just no removal to deal with the Flyers right now. Can be a tilting situation. So 2-2 we shall be. So now, no matter what happens, this Wizards deck is going to do at least as well as our first Wizards deck. Just 2-3 every time we try to play Blue-Red Wizards. Okay. Well, this hand is another hand with a potential curve. Lava Runner into Nabon, into maybe more wizards after that. If we draw really well here, we could draw the 3-mana wizard that does 2 damage and then the 4-mana wizard that bounce a creature. That would be Magical Christmas Land. Then we do 4 damage when our 3/2 comes into play. We bounce both their creatures when our 4-mana 3/2 comes into play. So we're playing against a red-black. Looks like a heavy historic theme here. Do I want to get Nabon out right now? If I get Nabon out right now, then I have more wizards out when I cast instants and sorceries, but I'm not casting one until turn 5. See what happens when I go to combat here. Okay, just attacking first, because if they have fungal infection, they'll probably use it to kill Lava Runner. Looks like they don't, so our 2/1's going to survive whatever it is. Anyways, Nabon, if we draw into the 4-mana wizard, that gives us a good curve of Nabon into Adelies into 4-mana wizard. But if we play Relic Runner, then that gives us a good attack no matter what they play this turn, because Adelies is a historic spell. So they could play like a 3/3 blocker, and Relic Runner will get in there, and Adelies will get in there. We hit for 4 no matter what if we play Relic Runner. I think against Black-Red, I just want to play Nabon here, but Relic Runner's probably going to be good later. I suppose even if they just play like a 2/2, I don't really want to attack with Nabon, whereas I would still want to attack with Relic Runner. Alright, just a bunch of historic spells here. They probably have a lot of payoffs for that kind of stuff. Play the Adelies pre-combat because of that haste. This is looking to be a pretty good matchup. They're spending the first few turns just setting up some equipment here. And we can capitalize on that by spending the first few turns just getting a board of attacking creatures. Get them Getting them as low as we can here. They do have the removal for Adelise. We do have Weight of Memory coming up next turn. That should be pretty good. That should make our Lava Runner a 2/2. For now, we just cast our Relic Runner. Goblin, War Chief, 2/2 Haster. Trades with Relic Runner if they attack in, but they can also just throw a short sword on it and hit for 3 or hold up a blocker. They will be holding up a blocker here. Here's Academy Journey Mage, but that can bounce 2 things thanks to Daban on the board. Might still want to play it here. If I play it here, I do hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put them to 6 life, but I can also Weight of Memory, get our Lava Runner ready for bigger attacks, and set up plays for the next few turns. I kind of like just going with the Weight of Memory, because if their plan here is to just play another blocker, that Academy Journey Mage is just going to be absolutely excellent next turn. Like, it'll still just clear the board when it comes in. Well, it is to play another blocker, however, that blocker does 1 damage to something when it comes in, so we can only bounce 1 card here, and that is unfortunate. Could double block here, but I lose all my creatures, so that's not worth it. We do have Warlord's Fury. Do we have an instant or sorcery engrave? We do have Weight of Memory. So casting Warlord's Fury makes Lava Runner a 2/2. So we can cast a Warlord's Fury and a Journey Mage to bounce the Fire Fist Adept, but then they can replay it and kill Relic Runner. So Fire Fist Adept's really not a card I want to bounce. So I think I'm casting like Warlord's Fury and a Rampaging Cyclops here, so I have a good attacker. In the future, just a 4/4 attacks well into a 3/3. They do have more equipment though, or they can move it around. Let's get our Cyclops out and pass the turn, I think. They're going to throw the Sorcerer's Wand onto the Fire Fist Adept so it can sit there pinging me down. Hits us for 2 a turn, and they can just do that after blocks every turn. So they're going to suit up the War Chief as the attacker, use Fire Fist as the blocker, and the Fire Fist still hits us for 2 a turn as a blocker as well. So this is a pretty good aggressive position for them. We can bounce Fire Fist Adept with Journey Mage now, next turn, and then we get in for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We hit them for 8, Journey Mage hits them for 2 more. I think that's definitely the play. We go no blocks here. Ooh. Oh. They know what's coming here. Alright, well, I'd rather bounce the War Chief than the Fire Fist Adept then. So I think Divination and just bounce the War Chief seems fine to me, but with Fire Fist drilling us for 2 a turn, we still have quite a while. 2 damage a turn at 17 life is going to take 9 turns to kill us. I think we have time to Divination here. Just Divination, Journey Mage the War Chief. And another Journey Mage is the draw. Absolutely beautiful. Two damage to us right now. Alright, well I'm bouncing the War Chief anyway. So no blocks here, so just slam it in. It's kind of a weird choice of when to use that wand there. They may have thought I was going to bounce the Fire Fist Adept, but you can respond to me trying to bounce it by then choosing to damage us. They are down to 3 life now. We have a Journey Mage for a guaranteed 2 damage. We have 4 attackers here. They're actually just dead on board, and they're out of mana, so we've got this one on lock here. So that will push us to 3 wins, 3 and 2. We have officially proven this is the superior Wizards deck to the last one. I guess not technically. We could have just gotten into better matchups. There is definitely a level of randomness to it always. But I definitely think on paper this deck looks better. So now we're heading into round 6 here, 3 and 2. No matter what happens, we've got an average record, but getting 4 wins is where the money's at. At 4 wins, we're going to get 1,400 gems out of this. It did cost 1,500 to get in, so That is where we can make sure to get all our gems back to be able to hop into another one of these. Playing against another black deck. Here comes Fungal Infection. They have something in hand. It was waiting through their turn. I'm going to slam in with Lava Runner here and trade for the Fungal Infection before I cast Relic Runner. Yeah. I guess either way, it's a 1-for-1. Well, not even a 1-for-1 trade. They get to keep the Sapling token either way. Yeah, no, Fungal Infection is really good against our deck because it's great against Lava Runner and Relic Runner. Guess it's equally bad for us, whichever one they kill. So our opponents has double black here. Just a Sapling on board, and they choose to attack there. So we'll see what this is here. Another Fungal Infection? Or Vicious Offering or something? Another Fungal Infection? Well, I wish I'd never mentioned Fungal Infection before, because this matchup seems to be where we're going to get our just desserts. We're going to play against a triple Fungal Infection deck and just get absolutely slaughtered, because that card is very good against us. Shuts down all our early game plays and leaves them with 1/1s left behind. Alright, well, it's not going to shut off a 4/4, that's for sure. That being said, this 4/4 is not the greatest attacker against a Sapling deck. They have plenty of tokens, so will get -2/-0, but still a 2/4, so they're going to need 4 1/1s to be able to kill it on blocks. So it's probably fine. Uh-oh. They've cast Title. Karn, Scion of Urza. Yikes. Yeah, Karn's one of the best bombs in the format just because it is completely colorless, so any deck that you're playing, you can absolutely scoop up a Karn. Karn's just a great value engine, drawing you a card every turn. And it's definitely not hard to establish a board of blockers for Karn to sit behind and just keep drawing you cards. And then if you ever get to a lot of loyalty on this, you can just start pooping out constructs. And it's just making a massive field. Well, we have a Fight with Fire incoming. 5 to target creatures. We can't shoot Karn with that. Even if we could, Karn would go to 1 loyalty. We're definitely not shooting a Sapling with that, but that's definitely a solid card for later in the game. So they have Fungal Plots where they can gain life and draw cards. They have Karn where they can sit there drawing cards. I don't love attacking their face. I also don't love attacking Karn, but we should attack something. I think it's probably better to attack Karn. Most likely we could accomplish more that way. We're probably just killing a Sapling either way, but I suppose we'll see. So how far away are we from Fight with Fire, by the way? We have 5 mana right now. We have a 6th in hand. We need to hit 9 mana to kick the Fight with Fire. Alright, looks like the 1 trump block is what they go for. We'll play a Journey Mage. We are 3 more land draws away from kicking a Fight with Fire, which is always pretty good, so got my fingers crossed for that later on. If we hit an island, that'll be excellent, because then we can cast Weight of Memory, which draws us a few cards, gives us some more action to potentially have something to deal with Karn, and also likely hits a land or 2, gets us very close to casting Fight with Fire.
You may regret that choice.
Well, 2 actual cards here. I think I'd rather play against a single 3/3 Menace than 4 1/1s. Especially when they have Fungal Infection out. I guess they don't have the mana to kick the Sapling Migration yet, but I'd still rather play against a single 3/3 Menace than 2 1/1s even here in this position, because the fact that the 1/1s can just trump block my stuff over and over. The 3/3 would just trade with my 3/2, which is fine by me. Oh, they even just cast it as a 1/1 here to get another blocker out. Interesting. So they can double block Journey Mage, I suppose. Probably fine with that double block. I guess they do have card draw going for them with Karn. That's why they're okay with 2 for 1ing to kill my cards here. I could Fight with Fire now. so that they can't double block when I attack Karn, and Karn takes at least 3 and I don't lose any creatures. But I'm also at 6 mana, so I'm also only 3 mana away from kicking Fight with Fire. So that doesn't seem awesome. That being said, they have 5 more cards to play around with, so if I lose Journey Mage, I only have 1 good attacker. I'll just have Cyclops and Arcanist. But they're also a Saproling deck with a Fungal Plot, so if I kill Stronghold Confessor, they can Fungal Plots and just get another Saproling anyway. So they're going to have the ability to just double block my Journey Mage with 2 1/1s quite often. Yeah, I'm not going to use the Fight with Fire here. I think they'll basically, anytime they want, have the ability to double block my Journey Mage with 2 1/1s. So I don't think that using a removal spell to just kill a 1/1 is going to be good here. Not that trading my 3/2 down is that good either. I think it's just better than the alternative. So there's a 2/2 that can trade into my 3/2 and a Thallid Omnivore that can trade into my 3/2. So yeah, it definitely worked out fine. There is the blue mana. We also have 7 mana total, so only 2 away from that Fight with Fire now. Excuse me. My bad. We are going to have 2 sorceries in our grave now. We'll have Divination and Weight of Memory. So there's no reason to mill ourselves unless we think our opponent has good things to do with their graveyard. They do have Fungal Plots, but they can use our graveyard for that as well. And we do have like 17 creatures in our deck. So I think I'm just going to mill them here. But if they have like Multani or Soul Salvage, that'll be a bit sad. But I think I'm okay with it. Let's see what they got here. Drudge Sentinel and Slimefoot. Yeah, get out of here, Slimefoot. I don't want to see your face around here. We've got Warlord's Fury. We do have the next land. We also have Arcanist to tap for Fight with Fire. I totally forgot about that. So we're actually only 1 mana away from the kicked Fight with Fire, so we can do it next turn. We just go Island Fight with Fire. So that is very cool. I think I'm going to hold on to Warlord's Fury in case I draw Adelies. Does that make any sense? Probably not. I'm just going to go for the Warlord's Fury now then, so that I can get an attack in with the Cyclops, and they can only chump block. If they double block, I have first strike this turn, so I just get to kill the Thallid Omnivore anyway. Alright, so they're going to single block with the Thallid Omnivore. It's actually pretty interesting. Oh, I totally forgot about Cyclops' ability, but luckily my opponent did as well. They could have double blocked, and then it would be a 2/4, so I just kill Cabal of Angel. Cyclops would still survive that attack, but... actually, no. Yeah, that's fine. That's the same thing that would have happened if it didn't have the minus ability. So the Cyclops would still survive that attack, but I could only kill the 2/2 instead of killing the 3/3 if they double blocked. So a double block still would have been better, but just marginally. Cyclops wouldn't die by being a 2/4 because we had that first strike.
Are you certain of your decision?
Yargle or Deathbloom Thallid? I don't want to give you any of these. What the heck? I'm going to give them Yargle. It costs more mana to cast, and it only has 3 toughness, so with Fight with Fire, it's a lot easier to kill than Deathbloom Thallid, because Deathbloom Thallid, I have to kill that for 2 and then kill the Saproling also. I know I have Fight with Fire coming up, so I'm just going to play towards that. Of course, the Vicious Offering to kill Rampaging Cyclops is a big deal here. Now we can't put any pressure on Karn anymore. So holding off on Fight with Fire for a turn might actually cost me a lot, so maybe it is better to just give them the Deathbloom Thallid, because either way they can't cast it that turn. So we can cast Fight with Fire right now, we can kill Karn and both their 2/2s, then they have 2 mana to make a Saproling, and then they just play a Yargle next turn. Yeah, I'm holding off on the Fight with Fire until they play Yargle. Probably would have been better to just give Deathbloom Thallid and pop Fight with Fire immediately. We're going to kill 1 less creature now. Now we're going to kill Karn, Yargle, and a 1/1 instead of Karn and 2 2/2s. +1 again. Just a land. They can have that. And now by killing Karn this turn, we know that they're never going to get to cast all these. Otherwise, if they -1 Karn, they can start using all this stuff. They do have the Soul Salvage, so I guess I should have milled myself. But they get the Thallid Omnivore back that we traded for anyway. And the Slimefoot, if we didn't mill Slimefoot, they'd have drawn into it by now. Unless we could have exiled it off of Karn. I suppose that is a possibility. But we know Slimefoot was in the top 3, and they drew for turn a couple times. Cloud Reader Sphinx is the draw. I can also fight with fire without tapping Arcanist now, which is kind of cool. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kill all that. You can have your 2/2s. But now they're going to have a Slimefoot out. Now is the point where we have to be honest with ourselves. We were pretty much dead the second Karn showed up, and now it is just going to be abundantly clear because the Slimefoot has arrived. They just needed to dig far into their deck to hit any form of bomb. They have found Slimefoot. I guess now we get to kill Slimefoot, but they've still drawn like 2 cards a turn for a long time here, so they've still got quite the board, this Thallid Omnivore being the biggest issue. Journey Mage seems like actually a solid draw. Oh dear. I think we just kill Slimefoot before they can start sinking mana into making a bunch of 1/1s, but Fungal Plots is going to be creating a ton of Saprolings. Our opponent is definitely just on a very grindy kind of Saproling sort of deck, and these are the kind of decks that absolutely take things over in the late game. So we have hit the late game. They have established board dominance. They could find lethal off of Fungal Plots, I think. Right? Because they can sacrifice both of their 2/2s that I just blocked, and then Thallid Omnivore gets +4/+4, so it's 7. So 7, 8, 9 there. I was at 11 life, so they could do that. Fungal Plots for another Sapling and sack that Sapling. Yeah, they could have killed us right there. Definitely happy to survive another turn, but I don't think it'll matter. We'll get this Omnivore out of here, and then trade with these 2/2s. Trade with one of these 2/2s with our Journey Mage. All right, well, I think that this is going to end the draft for us here, but definitely a good lesson to be learned in this draft, just about this format in general, that I was sort of considering in the first draft, but I think I might have a better way to describe it here. I think that this is definitely, Dominaria is definitely a format with a lot of bombs and great grindy, like, value cards. So there is something to be said for going for the good aggressive decks, like a Wizards deck can be. The weird thing about this format, though, is that it's different than other formats in that because of how powerful the grindier decks can be, how well Wars of Attrition can work with cards like Fungal Plots, Slimefoot, Karn, Soul Salvage, stuff like that, the aggressive decks have to be incredibly consistent to get in there. So while the format generally is slow, so you're going to be playing against a lot of slower decks that play big high mana cost cards, so oftentimes going under them, trying to cast stuff and attack them before they can really do all their big stuff can work out. That's a lot of how we won a couple of the games that we won, was just curving out before they put a lot of stuff on the board. If your opponent gets to that point where they stabilize at all, you're going to get absolutely demolished in this format. And there are some really good cards to stabilize on only like 3 mana in this format, like Deathbloom Thallid and Yavimaya Sapherd are 2 cards that just make it so hard to attack in because you get multiple creatures off of the 1 card. It's a 3/2 that trades off and then gives you a 1/1 blocker afterwards, and a 3 mana 2/2 and a 1/1. There are just some really, really good cards for blocking in this format. So definitely a pretty grindy format where a lot of the 3-color like value decks are quite good. So you have to draft like a really consistent aggro deck for your aggro decks to be good. And so I think I'm probably gonna stop trying to go for the aggro decks unless I have a really, really good reason to. As much as I love drafting aggro decks, I think more so than any format I've played recently, you have to draft the aggro decks incredibly well here. And obviously, the first time that I did the Blue-Red Wizards, I didn't draft it super great. And then this time, I think the deck still looked alright, but just would have to be the next level up to beat those kinds of Saproling strategies that we were getting demolished by there. So that is going to end today's Dominaria draft. If you enjoyed the draft, as always, just like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff that lets the YouTube algorithm know that you are enjoying the content and want to see more. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again for more Magic Arena very soon.